Hello friends, welcome to the second video about the white villages of Spain. If you missed the first one about the Sierra de Grazalema, which stretches across the northern parts of the provinces of Cádiz and Málaga, you can find it here. Today we've chosen a lesser-known area of Spain, also in Andalusia, Cabo de Gata and its surroundings. For those who dream of nothing more than owning a house overlooking the Mediterranean at an affordable price in a secluded and peaceful location far from the hordes of tourists and the hustle and bustle and living a tranquil life, pay attention to this area. Almeria is probably one of the most misunderstood provinces in Spain. Located in the easternmost part of Andalusia, it is the driest province in Spain, recording the lowest average annual rainfall and has the lowest annual per capita income. With a low population density, a significantly lower cost of living than other Mediterranean areas, and over 3,000 hours of sunshine a year, the province offers a simple and friendly lifestyle. In Spain, the poorest communities are often the most generous with their food. Almeria is famous for its tapas. I remember visiting Almeria with friends in my youth, going for a few beers before lunch, and then deciding not to eat because the free tapas had already satisfied our appetites. Historically isolated from major industrial and tourist centers, Almeria's relative isolation has worked in its favor. Less urban development pressure, towns that maintain their human scale, and a daily life still characterized by a slower pace. Here, the Mediterranean isn't a showcase, but rather the backdrop. And living near the sea doesn't necessarily mean exorbitant prices or constant crowds. While Almeria is the driest province in Spain, no other area reflects the spatial continuity of the arid landscape and desert-like appearance, quite like the Cabo de Gata Níjar Natural Park, the only natural park of volcanic origin on the European mainland Mediterranean, and at the same time, one of the best preserved stretches of coastline in Spain. Far removed from large resorts and protected by strict environmental regulations, the Cabo offers a way of life based on tranquility, silence, and genuine proximity to nature. Its small villages, San José, Las Negras, Rodalquilar, and Agua, maintain more affordable prices than other Andalusian coastal enclaves and a much less aggressive relationship with tourism. Here, people don't come to consume the landscape, but to live in harmony with it. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, wah, wah. Before briefly recounting our 5-day stay exploring Cabo de Gata and its surroundings, we'll share a couple of interesting facts about Almeria, closely related to its topography, to better understand this province, one from the past and one from the present. The curious story of the past relates to the so-called spaghetti westerns. In the 1960s and 70s, someone decided that the arid desert landscapes of the province, especially those of the so-called Tabernas Desert, 30 kilometers north of the capital, a place where erosion has created gullies and canyons, resembled the American Wild West, and Hollywood chose it as the setting for its cowboy films. Since the 1960s, Tabernas has been the location for more than 300 films, including titles such as A Fistful of Dollars, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, Lawrence of Arabia, Indiana Jones, and series like Doctor Who. Some of these locations can still be visited in theme parks such as Oasis, Fort Bravo, Texas, Hollywood, or Western Lyon. Other filming locations can be discovered by fans of the genre exploring on their own. Tabernas is also a protected area due to its biodiversity. It was declared a natural area in 1989, so beyond its film appearances, it's also worth a visit for lovers of desert landscapes and lunar scenery. Be warned, temperatures can exceed 45 degrees Celsius.
current curiosity concerns its sea of plastic. Have you ever heard that the Great Wall of China is the only human-made structure visible from space? Well, that's an urban legend. It's false. There are human-made structures, like large cities or reservoirs, that can be identified from space, but none as clearly as the more than 26,000 hectares of plastic-covered greenhouses in the municipalities of El Ejido and La Mojonera in this province. Almeria has the largest continuous expanse of greenhouses in Europe. Under these white plastic roofs, nearly 4 million tons of food, such as cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, watermelons, and melons, are grown annually. The area is known as the vegetable garden of Europe. Some industry reports suggest that up to 50% of the European market in certain months or segments can be supplied by greenhouse production from southern Spain. Especially during the winter months, Europe depends on this intensive production. This is possible because this region of Spain has an average temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and more than 8 hours of sunshine daily, so even in winter, crops can grow in greenhouses without artificial light or heat, significantly reducing production costs. Technology has also played a role. Recycled plastic has been developed for building greenhouses, and new, faster transport methods have made shipping more economical and efficient. Costs are also lower thanks to cheap labor from migrant workers from North Africa. We'll leave it at that, as it was just an interesting tidbit. We don't intend to write a full report on the subject. Now, let's get to our vacation. Hola, corazón. ¿Dónde estás?
Aquí.
¿Quién vive en esta cueva? As our base for 5 days exploring the Cabo de Gata Níjar Natural Park, we chose the village of Amarga. One of its hidden gems, it perfectly embodies the spirit of the tranquil and authentic Mediterranean. This small coastal village of white houses and just a few hundred inhabitants sits on a bay with crystal clear waters and pristine coves, surrounded by a wild landscape that has remained almost untouched by mass tourism. Its origins are linked to both traditional fishing and 19th century iron mining. A railway line brought iron from a nearby mine to a dock down below. Vestiges of this can still be seen in the surrounding area. We don't know what it will be like in the summer, but judging by the size of the village and the proportions of its buildings, it's clear it won't be overrun with crowds. Everything is kept relatively in human scale. And for those who don't find the local beach enough, there are plenty of walks to get lost in some of its more hidden coves. During our visit in winter, we enjoyed the flower-filled alleyways and the golden sand of its beach in complete serenity. One village we visited was Las Negras, a hamlet in the municipality of Níjar that has historically been linked to artisanal fishing and, to a lesser extent, mining. For much of the 20th century, it was an isolated settlement with difficult access and a subsistence economy. Today, it maintains a manageable size and a stable year-round population, with basic services, small shops, and moderate tourism, concentrated mainly in the summer. Its urban layout is simple, without major recent developments, and its main beach combines dark sand and pebbles, a common characteristic of this part of the volcanic coastline. A small coastal village that we found charming was Isleta del Moro, named for the rocky islet located off the coast, historically used as a landmark for local navigation. If someone had told us this was a place lost on some Greek island, we would have believed it. The small village retains a structure clearly linked to its fishing origins, organized around 2 coves and a tiny port, without large infrastructures or extensive urban developments. The only non-coastal town we visited is called Rodalquilar. Rodalquilar was one of the main gold mining centers in Spain during the 20th century. Mining reached its peak between the 1940s and 1960s, when housing, industrial facilities, and services for the workers were built. After the mines closed permanently, the town was practically abandoned. Today, Rodalquilar is a small settlement with few permanent residents, known for its mining ruins, the old industrial village, and its location within the protected area of the natural park, which has prevented any further urban development. It's interesting to see how the inhabited houses of the town and the ruins of its past coexist side by side. A place we hadn't visited before and which pleasantly surprised me was Carboneras. Carboneras is a coastal town located north of the natural park, but outside its administrative and environmental protection boundaries. Unlike the inland towns within the park, Carboneras has experienced significant industrial development, historically linked to energy production, cement manufacturing, and the port. This activity has shaped its urban growth and socio-economic profile. Although it boasts beaches and tourism, its structure is that of a functional town with a higher population density, comprehensive services, and a more diversified economic role within the region. It's larger, offering more than the other towns, yet it exudes absolute tranquility, at least I repeat, in winter. Beyond the towns, I imagine that exploring the natural park in summer might involve heading to the coast as soon as possible and staying close to it. This is one of the best beaches in the park. Playa de los Muertos, Beach of the Dead, is located on the eastern edge of the Cabo de Gata coastline and is an open beach without buildings or permanent services. Access is on foot from an elevated parking area, which has helped to limit overcrowding. The name is traditionally associated with shipwrecks and ocean currents that washed bodies ashore, although there is no conclusive documentation to support this. The beach is long, with gravel and deep water, making it unsuitable for families but highly valued by those seeking solitude. The coast of the Cabo de Gata Níjar Natural Park is dotted with watchtowers, remnants of a time when this coastline was a frontier and a constant threat. Mostly built during the 16th and 17th centuries under the reign of Philip II, they formed part of a defensive system designed to warn of incursions by Barbary pirates and Ottoman corsairs. From these watchtowers, lookouts lit bonfires or sent out smoke signals that were transmitted from tower to tower, creating a primitive communication network along the coast. Today, these towers no longer protect anyone, but they continue to serve a symbolic function. They remind us that Cabo de Gata, Níjar wasn't always a haven of calm, but rather a harsh, watchful, and strategically crucial territory in the history of the Mediterranean. And that concludes our tour for today. We haven't finished with our white village routes yet. We still have a tour of the Axarquia region of Malaga and a bit of the Alpujarra region of Granada to bring you. But if you'd like to discover more of our travel videos, you'll find some suggestions in the description of this one. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.